So you're president of the United States. The thing does not hurt your campaign. First day
it helps my campaign.
Okay, it helps your campaign.
Yeah.
You're in office. It's day one, and someone walks in and they go, so what are we going to do about these Jews?
During the past few years, you couldn't help but notice the sheer amount of celebrities that decided to speak out about what they define as the horrors of cancel culture.
Ricky Gervais has spoken out once again about the dangers of cancel culture during a recent interview.
These celebrities feel as if their lives have been tarnished, ruined, simply because of the fact that people on Twitter are kinda mad at them for something that they've done. And while I do think that it's easy and also kind of fun to point at these celebrities and laugh at them for crying about something that does feel a bit stupid, considering the fact that they are millionaires at the end of the day, I think it's important to notice and point out that there is a bit of a pattern here. Time and time again, these celebrities would fall down a bit of a dark path. While their opinions might have been kind of extreme from the get-go, they would get more and more extreme, more and more radicalized as they fall down this rabbit hole.
Jews should work for Christians. I'll hire a Jewish person in a second. If I knew they weren't a spy and I could look through their phone and follow them to their house and have a camera all in their living room.
You may look at one of these celebrities, this person that you once loved, and think to yourself, what caused this situation? What made them be who they are today? Is it this sort of separation from the public, feeling like you're being attacked?
You have to hit back, and you have to hit back soon.
Is it just the fact that these people are now way, way richer than they used to be?
Make some noise for the richest man in the world.
Or is it the people who have a lot to gain from this sort of character development? Well, let's find out from various corners of my room. This is The Pinely Show.
Literally tens of millions of people in the United States who are afraid that the cancel culture is coming for them.
Every human being has something of value that they brought to the table, especially Hitler.
Gina Carano was once a rising star. Started off as a Muay Thai fighter, an MMA fighter. She acted in a bunch of movies, and she was also in The Mandalorian, where she did not that great of a job in my opinion. All of that, though, was essentially thrown out of the window because of one specific thing that she's done.
Gina Carano will not be returning to The Mandalorian or the Star Wars galaxy amid backlash from a social media post the actress shared, implying that being a Republican today is like being Jewish during the Holocaust.
After being fired by Disney, Gina received a lot of support from the right, unsurprisingly so. She was painted almost immediately as some sort of martyr, a fallen soldier who died in the battle against cancel culture. What exactly was so controversial about what she said? Well,
being a Republican today is like being Jewish during the Holocaust.
My Disney Plus subscription is complete. They probably won't care, but this was the comment I left as to why I canceled, which I am posting to every YouTube video. Jesus Christ, I'm not gonna read any of that. And with 185 likes, I guess her point remains valid. Yeah, no, her point really does remain valid. Being fired from a show is essentially the same as being a Jewish person in the Holocaust. Alright, so what was the actual tweet at hand that got her fired? Because history is edited, most people today don't realize that to get to the point where Nazi soldiers could easily round up thousands of Jews, the government first made their own neighbors hate them, simply for being Jewish. How's that any different from hating someone for their political views? What political views was Gina referring to? Come on. Gina's tweets before this were pretty damn spicy. She was talking about, I guess, alluding towards election fraud, even though it's pretty damn clear what she actually thinks. She was complaining all the time about, like, masks and shit. And people online were mad, as they usually are. They were disagreeing with her takes, and I guess that hurt her little feelings so much that she decided that, yes, Joe Badussi calling her a dumbass on Twitter is pretty much comparable to being murdered for your ethnicity. Back during the Trump administration, Republicans had a lot of control. They had a majority in the Senate, Trump was obviously in power, but something still felt off. What they dreamed that would happen right after Trump getting elected didn't happen. America didn't become this sort of incredible utopia. It wasn't quote-unquote great again. These people needed something to put all their problems onto, some separate boogeyman, something that has nothing to do with governmental control because this is what they already had. Something that has zero to do with government
and has everything to do with the people. So being cancelled became exactly that. It became that scary, terrifying force. Gina herself is a sentiment to how effective this campaign truly was. She thinks that what she went through is really comparable to being a Jewish person in the Holocaust. That's insane. What do you think, Grumbo the Fox? Do you think that she actually deserved to get fired for that?
Definitely for her acting.
You know how I feel about the Empire. But these stripes, I mean, there are rules I need to follow.
It's like seeing a plank of wood with a pair of sunglasses on it. It feels badass, but it's just bad acting. Wood doesn't really act all that great.
Oh, Grumbo, you always make such a good point. That's why we all love you here on The Pinely Show. We love you, Grumbo.
Want to hear another good point, or that's his actual name?
Yeah, sure.
This video is sponsored by Harry's.
I may just be a fox, but I love Harry's. Pinely does too, right? I sure do. Their premium blades were made in their own factory in Germany and give an incredibly nice and smooth shave. They have this new two-tone design that includes deeper handle grooves for a better grip, and 50% of the plastic in that handle is recycled. The prices are honestly great. You get a really high quality product for a very affordable price. I had people recommend Harry's to me way before I did this sponsorship. And also, if you're not happy with what you got, they have a 100% money back guarantee. So why not give it a shot? The foaming gel is great for sensitive skin, using lovely ingredients like aloe and hyaluronic acid. In your starter set, you get a 5-blade razor, a weighted handle, a blade cover, and a foaming gel for just $5 if you use my link, harrys.com/pinely. Genuinely an incredible deal if you're a human being that shaves, or a grumbo. I recommend it to everyone. Now back to the video.
Did Gina deserve to be fired because of her actions though?
Yes.
Well, it might be a bit controversial, but I'm not so sure. I don't really care. At the end of the day, this wasn't done because Disney wanted to do something that's actually good. They don't really give a shit. They're a massive company, and Gina was a bit of a problem for them. She was saying things that didn't align with what they want to seem like. She was a liability, something that made them look bad. She was on Twitter all day, arguing about like masks and shit. They don't really want that type of image attached to them. They're just a massive corporation that wants to make a lot of money. And honestly, I refuse to applaud Disney out of all companies for fighting for justice.
Holocausticization is a term that may or may not be real. All I know that I have heard one of my friends say it, and I did want to use it for this video. Essentially means using the Holocaust as a point of comparison to essentially just win an argument. The reality of things is that this is something that's done on all sides of the political spectrum, outside of politics too. People love comparing everything to the Holocaust, and while sometimes these comparisons may be made in favor of something that I do ultimately agree with, I always just find it kind of cheap and, I don't know, disgusting. A lot of the times, it just shows a general lack of knowledge or willing to understand the true horrors of what happened back then when you just decide to compare anything that seems bad to you as, oh, it's just like the Holocaust? I talk about it more, but last time I decided to speak out about anti-Semitism on this channel, the video got demonetized, so I guess I'll shut my mouth. While I do think that what Gina did was disgusting and wrong, yeah, there have been instances from people from the other side of the political spectrum making similar comparisons, and, you know, nothing really happened to them at the end of the day. Gina clearly felt isolated from society to some extent after this happened, and sort of before that. Her tweets again and again and again were her crying out about how she's feeling like she's being bullied, a grown woman. And obviously, her being fired probably didn't help those feelings of self-pity. Feeling as if the mainstream audience that once loved her is now attacking her like she has no one on her side anymore. And then, what does someone like that do?
In Brooklyn, show business rules. This is a rule. You know, the rules of perception. If they're black, then it's a gang. If they're Italian, it's a mob. But if they're Jewish, it's a coincidence, and you should never speak about it.
It bunches all of these people up, creating the world's worst echo chamber. It's a forced connection. That's why you have a situation where Gina Carano, who has made some edgy comments about the Holocaust, is now friends with Ben Shapiro, a man who complains about everything and is also Jewish. Shapiro, who again loves complaining, shows a bit more of an understanding side to his friends and peers, platforming Kanye West again and again and again. Kanye West is friends with Nick Fuentes, a man who has made a career out of hating minorities. Nick is a walking contradiction himself, considering his last name is Fuentes, and according to a lot of sources, it is a name of Jewish origins, which is kind of ironic considering he is a Nazi. All of this leaves us with this ragtag team of shitheads. Some of them are grifters who benefit off of saying the most inflammatory things possible, bouncing off of each other, making each other and their audience become more and more extreme as time goes. Some of them are there because this is a place that finally accepts their twisted little views. And there's also a very small portion of them which actually has talent.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dave Chappelle!
This is from Dave Chappelle, a SNL monologue that he did a few weeks ago. I watched the whole thing, and I mean, for the most part, it is funny, right?
Yeah, I mean, Chappelle's delivery is on point here, as it usually is. Don't really care about that, though.
For the first half of this monologue, Chappelle again and again and again tries to paint Kanye West and his recent actions as something that's kind of heroic in a way. The one person that decided to stand up against showbiz rules.
It's a big deal. He had broken the show business rules. It's just a rule. You know, the rules of perception. If they're black, then it's a gang. If they're Italian, it's a mob. But if they're Jewish, it's a coincidence, and he should never speak about it.
By saying this, by delivering it in his classic Dave Chappelle way of lowering his voice and kind of looking downwards and saying things a bit more slowly, he essentially tries to make it seem like now he's talking real shit. This time, he's saying some smart shit and you should listen to him. He's essentially creating a fun little fantasy world where Kanye West, by saying I'm going DEFCON 3 on all Jewish people, actually did something that's pretty brave, and we should applaud him for that. And everyone's been wanting to do that for a very long time. Which, if that's the case, oh God. His actions didn't come from a place of hate. No, what he did was actually like a good thing. He's a hero.
And early in my career, I learned that there are two words in the English language that you should never say together in sequence. And those words are the and Jews.
He paints his actions as something that's almost like breaking out of the Matrix. He did the one thing that everyone thought is impossible. I can't believe that Kanye West decided to break those secret rules of this cabal that's running things behind the scenes. Personally speaking, I think that this is an idiot take. To say that something is brave just because you get backlash for it is an idiot take. That's a stupid ass thing to think. Would it be brave if little Grumbo the Fox over here went on an arsonery spree, just burning down 50 houses around the neighborhood?
Yes.
And no, the reason as to why Kanye got this level of backlash is that what he was doing was hateful. It was a shit thing to do. At the time of Chappelle's stand-up, he hasn't gone on his Alex Jones I Love Hitler tour, but he has said, I'm going DEFCON 3 on all Jewish people. And if you decide to try and interpret that in any other way other than he was being hateful, then you're a moron or you have something to gain from this standpoint. It's kind of ridiculous that people had to wait for him to say, I see good things about Hitler also. To only after that be like, oh man, guess Kanye doesn't really like Jews after all. What he did was a lot more comparable to a white nationalist pinning all of America's problems on a person who's not white, or a homophobic person doing that to gay people. The only rule that Kanye did break is the one of all these little weasels, where usually they don't outright say that they hate some sort of minority. They just try to kind of play around it with their little shit-ass dog whistle so they don't get into trouble. And as long as a statement like that isn't just made out there in the open, they can still sort of dodge responsibility. They can still pull a person like that to their sides. That's why Alex Jones did that interview in the first place, to try to make Kanye seem, you know, a bit more reasonable.
That's right, you're not Hitler, you're not a Nazi, you don't deserve to be called that and demonized.
Well, Dave Chappelle is really detached now. You can blame it on him getting canceled or whatever. I don't know if you could really say that that's what happened to him, considering the man got 2 Netflix specials after getting supposedly canceled, but you can say that that's that. Back in the day, Chappelle would actually talk about things that people can relate to. He talked about race problems, class problems.
I was making a point, and here I am, a black man in a limousine. Now we get into the class issues.
Right.
In the ghetto. So it's truth and jest. I pride myself on saying real shit that people don't even notice I'm saying.
Like go a few decades into the future, Chappelle is 5 years back since his hiatus, a break that was partly caused because of his disdain for really rich people. And now, look at who he's bringing on stage.
Ladies and gentlemen, make some noise for the richest man in the world. Tough road ahead, like it sounds like. But you notice one thing, all those people are booing, and I'm just pointing out the obvious. You have terrible seats.
Cheering on the richest man in the world for being rich, laughing at his audience for being poor. There's something about being cancelled that almost pins a celebrity directly against the public. Because, like we said earlier, it's something that comes from the public. It wasn't rich people, it wasn't billionaires that attacked Chappelle. Actually, when this whole thing happened, Netflix's CEO, a man worth $3.3 billion, said that he would order Dave Chappelle specials again and again and again, despite employee backlash. He stood by him in this difficult time. It wouldn't be too extreme to think that Chappelle saw this sort of backlash that he received from quote-unquote the common man and developed some sort of disdain. It made him realize that this isn't really his club anymore. They're not with him. His club is one that includes a man worth $3.3 billion. His club is the one that includes the richest man in the world. It's what made him defend the richest man in the world against the horrors of being booed.
Hey, wait a minute. Those of you booing.
After Gina Carano was fired off of The Mandalorian, she was immediately welcomed into the community of all those Daily Wire people, Ben Shapiro's conservative media company.
And feel like I just got railroaded by, the most powerful company in my industry. And so I was broken. I was broken in half.
Shapiro intentionally approached Gina in a time where she was emotionally vulnerable, knowing that this is the exact moment for him to recruit her. A sentence like this.
But when he called, he said, I'd like to do a movie with you, and I really want you to know you have to hit back, and you have to hit back soon.
Is a clear attempt to try and radicalize someone. Don't take a moment to breathe, don't think, just act. These people are attacking you, Gina, so you gotta hit back and hit back now.
And I said, okay, I can do that. I'm broken right now. I know I've been broken in half on so many different levels in my life. So at this point, I know I'm gonna get through this.
His goal was essentially to make her feel like being with him and the Daily Wire people was essentially her saving grace. You may be broken now, but Uncle Ben is gonna pick up the pieces, put a warm blanket over you, and make you feel all better.
He gave me this little diamond of hope and in a really bad spot.
The goal for Ben in this scenario was absolutely clear: to take Gina and the fact that she was involved in such a high-profile termination and use her as a poster child for cancel culture, the true horrors of it. If it could happen to Gina, it could happen to you at home, watching this video.
Honestly, the story that I think is more indicative for more Americans today than impeachment is actually a story that seems rather minor on the surface. It seems rather minor on the surface, except that we have literally tens of millions of people in the United States who are afraid that the cancel culture is coming for them. And cancel culture does exist. Okay, the culture of we are going to get you fired because we don't like your social media posts, right? That kind of stuff, that has impact on hundreds of millions of Americans.
Shapiro really knows how to plant fear in the hearts of people, and a case like this, where he could claim that there is some sort of double standards, is perfect for him. There's a lot to say about how media companies make a profit off of pinning people against each other, off of making discourse a lot more inflammatory. And while bigger companies usually try to sort of cover their tracks or deny the fact that this is what they're doing,
it's also about like media echo chambers and how I think mainstream media like Fox and even CNN like competes for views by running constant 24-hour news cycles based upon fear, division, outrage, and panic, probably to like sell ads.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure. First of all, I don't agree with what you're saying.
it's kind of fascinating seeing the Daily Wire do this exact thing so much in the open without even caring. Immediately afterwards, they ran promo deals where you could use code GINA to get a discount on their streaming service. They started releasing articles where her name was mentioned every single time. Gina Carano says cancel culture is dangerous and one-sided. Gina Carano tears up when Daily Wire backstage audience delivers standing ovation. Tucker Carlson teases interview with Gina Carano on trans pronouns, mask mandates, stars return to the screen. I'm sure you really can't guess what she's gonna say about all these topics. She became a shill for these people, a megaphone for their 5 talking points, and Ben catching her that quickly was a big part to why that happened. Another reason for the quick attachment to Gina Carano was also so they could start using her in some of their exclusive Daily Wire movies, which makes sense considering she's the only person I recognize on this movie poster. Daily Wire Plus. For years, you were at the mercy of woke entertainment companies, and then we built something new. Daily Wire Plus is an uncompromised streaming platform making content you want to see. I don't know if I want to see any of this. They have kid content as well. They have a show called Chip-Chilla coming up in 2023. Coming soon, we're creating kids entertainment parents can trust with a $100 million investment into shows that help young minds flourish. No divisive narratives, no insidious ideologies, just safe, fun programming the whole family will love. Hop on in. That insidious thing is like, you know, shows talking about like gay people and all that. That's the insidious thing that they're referring to. Movies. Hollywood is broken. It's time for a clean slate. We're creating original films and fearless documentaries you won't find anywhere else. Enjoy exclusive access to an expansive library where truth and entertainment are the only agenda. And as you see in that little corner, that's our own Gina Carano. Holding a gun. This is from a movie that they released this year with Gina, where she's like a cowboy or something.
We end up in Montana shooting a Western, a non-union movie, and...
Which is a great selling point for me. I don't really go to see movies based on whether they're good or not. I just want the people that worked on it to have less rights than they could have had. I saw the trailer for this thing. It's just a bunch of like stern looks from Gina Carano. Just a lot of like, ugh, and ugh. She did about the same during The Mandalorian. The one bit that really stood out to me is when the editing makes it look as if they're putting down a baby. Hey, come on now, that ain't a job for no lady. I'm gonna take care of this damn baby myself. I haven't seen the movie, but I'll give it a 10 out of 10 straight out the gate. If you guys support me on Patreon, next month's exclusive video will just be me reviewing this thing. So yeah, let me know if that's something that you want. But while this sort of fate does seem kind of crap, it's definitely not the lowest you can go.
There's a lot of things that I love about Hitler. A lot of things.
As a Jewish man who's listened to Kanye his whole life, this one hurt the most. The main reason I'm talking through this puppet right now is to deflect how disheartening this whole thing really is. Not only because it's just seeing a man that I once looked up to spewing so much hate towards a group of people. My group of people.
But also because it's Kanye. People love him. I've seen so many tweets supporting every single new take that Kanye has, no matter how much it contradicts something that he said before, no matter how just extreme and radical it is, people just love to suck Kanye West's dick. Over the past month, Kanye has gone on so many interviews, so many people trying to give him a chance to, you know, maybe backtrack a little bit. They wanted to use him. They wanted to point out his case and be like, look everybody, the SJWs are twisting Kanye's words. He didn't mean that he actually hates all Jews.
You don't deserve to be called that and demonized.
No, guys, no. Kanye didn't say that he hates Jewish people. He's just jealous of them.
But then Kanye had to be like, no, actually.
I see good things about Hitler also.
More recently, Kanye did this interview on a website called Censored TV. They dubbed it as an intervention. It was clearly just this like last Hail Mary, a last attempt to see if maybe they still have a chance to put the dog whistles back on, to straighten Kanye up a little bit so they can still use him for their favor. And as you may imagine, it did not go well.
You know, blacks are overrepresented in violent crime. But when you meet an individual black person, you don't apply that. You start with a fresh slate every time you meet someone. Do you do that with Jews?
Nope.
What's really good and awful about this interview is that the person that's running it is also a moron. His questions are really simple and kind of stupid, but it makes Kanye say everything.
Someone walks in and they go, so what are we gonna do about these Jews? What do you say?
What do you mean do about them? What do you
well, is there any action involved? Like
they need to work for Christians. Jews should work for Christians. I'll hire a Jewish person in a second. If I knew they weren't a spy and I could look through their phone and follow them to their house and have a camera all in their living room.
Yeah, no, that is really funny. You know, if you want to do like a really efficient job as well, why not just like put them all in like, you know, a confined area? Maybe put like a few designated people, guards, I guess you can call them guards, to look over them, make sure that they don't really escape. Kanye is really the amalgamation of all of this and everything that we talked about so far in this video. You could say that this moment during this interview is full radicalization. This is his full mask off moment. He says everything. He says his ultimate solution to Jewish people. This was definitely something that was a long time coming, and I feel kind of like an idiot for not realizing that sooner. You can pin it on a lot of elements, maybe on the fact that Kanye's whole thing from the beginning was going against what people expect him to do, you know? Everyone wanted him to be a producer, he decided to be a rapper. Everyone wanted him to stay a rapper, he decided to be a fashion designer, and everyone wanted him to not be a Nazi. And then the whole Trump thing clearly started off as that as well. He has said himself that he doesn't really care about Trump's politics. He's just doing it because he wants to stand out, because he wants to just be a contrarian.
To stand up and put on the hat, no matter what the consequences were. And what it represented to me is not about policies, and because I'm not a politician like that, but it represented overcoming fear.
You can pin it on the fact that after Kanye got backlash from this, he has found a home in the arms of the pro-Trump people. They really, really took him in. And while he might have not cared about politics in the first place, he has heard their rhetorics behind the scenes. He heard the way they talk. He heard what they think about things. One of the most interesting bits of the Kanye West Netflix documentary is the part where you can see this happen. You can see that exact moment where Kanye felt like this is his new home.
And maybe the most arresting moment came when Kanye West talked about abortion. Watch this.
Let me hear, bro.
No speechwriter wrote that. They can say they love you. They can tell you your life matters. But if they clutter your neighborhood with abortion clinics, they're lying.
No, this is facts, bro.
But no one wanted to engage.
Taking your words as right? No, he's putting them in context.
But it's still what we're talking about. Instead, TMZ reported that many people in Kanye West's circle believe he needs, quote, serious help.
In that moment, the friends who opposed him didn't really matter anymore. They were just like, I don't know, haters or whatever. This fake acceptance, this acceptance that clearly benefits someone in this situation, mattered to him a lot more, was a lot more powerful for him. After the DEFCON 3 situation, the same thing happened. Kanye's found a friend in Nick Fuentes. Like the rest of those people, Nick also benefited from having Kanye on his side. He literally met up with President Trump right afterwards. Nick also benefited from putting more and more fuel into the fire, these feelings that Kanye was feeling. You can pin it on 1,000,001 little different things, but at the end of the day, Kanye's a grown-ass man, responsible for his own decisions. He made those actions. And that's sort of it. The point of this video isn't to make some grand determination whether cancel culture is a good or bad thing. I don't care. This sort of argument tires me. It's not to say whether it's a real thing or not a real thing, because it isn't. It's not a real thing in the sense that it doesn't exist. It's just not like a feasible thing. It's language. That's all it is. It's a creature that shifts and changes its form depending on whose mouth it's coming out of. Personally, I think that people should have the ability to grow from their past mistakes, but I also think that everyone has the right to hold other people accountable. And maybe it is this sort of uncertainty about what this thing actually is. Maybe it's this sort of feeling of, ooh, I don't really know about this, that allows people to use this as this tool, as this boogeyman. The reality of language is that when you take this thing and turn it into this unwavering force, this terrifying thing, this creature that's out to get Gina Carano, me, you, the person watching this at home, that's when it has power. That's when it radicalizes. Like I said before, the last time I spoke about anti-Semitism on this channel, the video did get demonetized, so if you want to support what I do and get a bonus video out of it a month and a bunch of extra stuff, the link is right in the description. The goal at the end of the day is to be able to do this job without the whims of just some robot thing that has some control over my channel. I have a second channel called Evil Pinely where I post a lot too, so you can check that out as well. Besides that, I've been Pinely, and thank you for watching another episode of The Pinely Show.